Hi folks, and welcome in to the Truck King YouTube channel. This is the 2025 Rivian R1S, a ridiculously quick luxury SUV that also claims to have good off-road chops, and we're gonna put that to the test. So in this video, we're gonna head out on the trails, find some real deep water and squishy mud, and see if this R1S can take it. The model we're looking at here today is the R1S Tri-Motor. This is the most expensive version of the R1S on sale right now. Now, a quad motor version is coming, but it's not on the market as of early 2025. So when you go for the Tri-Motor, you're getting 3 motors like the name suggests. You're also getting over 800 horsepower. Now, standard from the factory, you're also getting some pretty good off-road upgrades or off-road features. The first thing I'll point out right up here at the front are these tow hooks, nice exposed tow hooks. Easy to get to. I like the way they stick out like that too. And then moving back, we'll talk tires, but behind the tires, air suspension, standard air suspension, and it can lift this body up quite a bit. And right now it is sitting up in its highest setting. Now, when it comes to tires, these are actually an upgraded package called the all-terrain package that's been added to our R1S, and it brings along these Pirelli all-terrains. That is a 34-inch tire, not quite a 35, but nice and big, and it's sitting on 20-inch wheels. Plus, they just look pretty dang good as well. Now, we will get to all the numbers in just a second, but like I just mentioned, I think the idea I want to get across is right from the dealership, this thing is already ready to go off-road. When you get the all-terrain package, you get the tires, you get a spare tire down here under the trunk lid, and you get upgraded skid plates underneath. So only 3 enhancements in that package, and that's because everything else that you need to go off-road is already here. And with that, why don't we throw it up on the rack and see what it looks like underneath. Now it's up on the rack, let's take a look underneath. So first of all, I want to point out right up front here, there is no gap between the protection and this front fascia. Now this is just a plastic fascia, so not super strong, but still I love to see that this is totally sealed up right in here. Then as we move back, we get to our first main skid plate, and that is composite plastic. This is my magnet to check the materials. So that's a composite plastic plate right there. And then we get back here to the next one, and that one is steel. Now what's interesting is I can see that this steel plate actually comes all the way up to here. So this plastic plate is just double protection, and this is what's gonna come along with that all-terrain package. So I do like to see that. So then we get to the steel, and then we get back to here. I'm assuming this big silver plate in the middle is gonna be your battery, and it's not magnetic. I don't know, honestly, if that's because it's aluminum or stainless steel. It could be some kind of stainless, but yes, not magnetic, so I know it's not the same steel as that plate is right there. And then we get to the very back, and there's another composite plastic skid plate back here. And I mean, you guys can see it. I don't think I have to really point this out. Look how sealed up it is. It is sealed up from the front straight to the back. I love seeing a vehicle like this. There's nothing down here that's gonna scoop or shovel or get caught on any mud. Nothing's exposed. Yeah, this thing really does look good for going off-road. And then finally, you can see the suspension back here. The first thing that strikes me is just how beefy these suspension components are, and they're also aluminum, they're not magnetic. You can see the remote reservoirs on these active shocks right here, which also look pretty cool hanging out there. And yeah, outside of that, you can't see anything because it's sealed up. So yeah, now before we go off-road, there's one other thing I want to test, and that is how the motors distribute their power. So let's go put it on the rollers first, and then we'll get into the mud. Now, just before we hit the mud and water, I wanted to do a simulated off-road situation using our rollers here in the driveway to see how this all-wheel drive system reacts. So, I have rollers under both rear wheels and a roller under the front passenger. So only that front driver's side wheel is actually on the ground right now. And that's important because this is the tri-motor Rivian R1S. That means there's 2 motors in the back and 1 motor in the front. So the back is self-explanatory. Each tire gets its own motor, so each tire should always get power. But in the front, with just 1 motor, I'm curious to see how it splits the power. Can it split it to just the 1 wheel to get us off the rollers? So that's what we're about to find out. Now, I always start this in regular drive mode, so no off-road modes, nothing fancy turned on, just to see how it reacts. And if it can't get off, then we'll move on to the drive modes. But for now, we're in regular all-purpose mode. And yeah, let's see what happens. Oh, well, that wasn't exciting at all, but that's exactly what you want to see. You want to see that that front tire was getting traction right away, and it was. I barely had to touch the throttle, just feather it. I felt the tiniest bit of spin, and then it went, which that's a good sign for our upcoming off-road adventure. So let's go find the mud now and see how it works in the real world. Now it's time to go off-road, folks. Let me hit you with the numbers before we go. And one thing I really like, when I put the air suspension up to its tallest height, it shows me I have a 36-degree approach, 34-degree departure, and 37.3 centimeters of ground clearance. And let me show you guys, Rivian says that this thing can go through 1 meter of water. So here's my meter stick. You can see how high up on the vehicle that is. That's pretty impressive. And now let's see if we can go put that to the test. So I'll throw my meter stick away. And here we go, starting with our ditch crossing. Right now we've got it in off-road mode, just in all-terrain mode. That's as it suggests, sort of the general off-road mode. And yeah, let's see how it does. Certainly, just from behind the wheel, the clearance feels amazing. Just crawling through here. Uh-oh. So my foot's almost to the floor now. How much spinning is it doing? Because my foot's almost to the floor. So it's very much regulating that power. Okay, so I'm going to reverse and just hit it with a bit of momentum. I think that's what I need. Front end looks clear? Okay. All right, just a little hit here, and I think that'll get us up the bank. Here we go. Power, 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 power. Come on, Rivian. Wow, okay. Interesting. I thought with a bit of momentum, maybe it would have done it. Let me try it like this. A bit more of an angle. Man, so that's foot to the floor. Foot is to the floor. And it's spinning and trying, but it just can't get there from here. All right, I'm going to back out. Let's see in reverse if I'm still okay. Oh man, even in reverse. It's just not happy. The tires just don't have the bite.
Yeah, you can see these tires, they're not really suited for this.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to drop into the ditch and come out that way, because unless I really hit it, and I don't want to do that, I don't think it's going through. Yeah. Clearance feels fine, just no grip. All right, so let's see if I can't just drop down into my ditch here. And this was not the idea. We're supposed to go across the ditch, not down into the ditch like this. But that's what it's going to take to get out. All right, well, there's test number 1. And as I just said, the clearance felt fine. Didn't feel like it was because I was rubbing fascia or anything that I couldn't get through there. It just felt like the tires just didn't have much bite. But now we'll go through the ruts and see what happens. Actually, folks, we're going to go back through the ditch. I want to give the Rivian a fair shake here. What I didn't realize is in all-terrain mode, you still have to go back in and change up the stability control system separately. So stability control was fully on, and that was just killing my power altogether. So now I have turned stability control to reduced, and then if I want to, I can turn it fully off. So for now, let's see with reduced stability control. And I guess part of me will say, when I put it into all-terrain mode, any off-road mode, I expect it to give me some wheel spin. So that's what I was expecting, and it just didn't let it spin basically whatsoever. It murdered that power. So now, stability control reduced. Let's see what happens if I can allow these tires to churn a little bit, because that's what they need to do. So we're coming in now. A little bit of power right about here. Let's go. Power, 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 power. Darn it. All right, so I'm already not happy with that. Let's go into stability control off, fully off. Let these guys just eat. So it says stability control off, which can help if you're stuck in the snow or mud, which I am, Rivian. So let's see if I can just go right from here. Here we go. Oh yeah, now it's digging. Power, 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 power! Nope. Jeepers! It's not happy with this today, folks. And there's no doubt that it's incredibly muddy here today. But we've had other vehicles out here recently, like the Tacoma Trail Hunter, and it did this no problem. So, one last try. No, and I was even hitting it there. And, you know, if this was my vehicle, I'd say maybe I'd come back and try to hit it with more momentum. But at some point, I'm too nervous about damaging anything, so I'm not hitting it that hard. But I got to do the same thing. I'm going to have to leave the ditch in shame because it did not complete the ditch crossing. And for the most part, I'm chalking that up to tires and conditions. It's really muddy out here, but the tires just don't feel like they got the bite. Oh my gosh, when I came out of there, I didn't even mean to do a donut, but it's so slippery. Well, there, the Rivian R1S will do donuts too. All right, folks, now we're going to go into the ruts. And yeah, I'm not feeling super confident after the ditch crossing there. And like I mentioned already, I do suspect it's a little bit more tires than anything else. I'm literally just going back and forth here to try and clean a little mud out of my tires because they feel so heavy and caked up, and I think that's one of the issues. But still, we got to see what happens here. So what I've done is I've actually gone ahead and put it into rock crawl mode. Seems to me like rock crawl would be the best mode for sort of sending the power to the wheel that needs it. Because again, there's no lockers here, and that's what our ruts are designed to test. Our lockers and articulation. Oh my gosh, it's already getting a little stuck. Oh, okay. I just had to drop into that rut a little bit more. So right about here, let's see what happens. It's working on it. It's trying to figure out what to do. And ka-chunk! Okay, well, traction control is figuring out where the power needs to be. Uh-oh. And that's foot to the floor, folks. Oh, it's going to do it. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Foot to the floor. Come on, come on. Yes! Well, it took it a good beat there to figure out what to do. And I have to say, just based on doing this with a lot of different vehicles, the articulation didn't feel so good. Like I could really feel that front end coming up and off the ground. And with most trucks, solid axle trucks granted, but with most trucks, I just don't feel that sort of bad articulation. So it made it, and kudos to the system for figuring out what to do. But that definitely took a little bit of work by the Rivian to kind of sort that out. And now, folks, we're doing the Hydroline. We got it all cleaned up because we had a big ice storm here in Southern Ontario. So we got all kinds of branches and stuff down on the Hydroline. So this is our first Hydroline run of 2025 in the Rivian R1S. And the water's actually gone down a little bit. It's still fairly deep though. And I'll tell you one thing I've been feeling, and this is very normal for air suspension, is that at its tallest height, so with that airbag fully blown up, the ride gets stiffer. You can just feel it coming up and over those little bumps and logs that were down in those ruts. The air suspension is just really riding firmly. Now that's not a Rivian thing, that's with all airbag suspension, but it's always worth mentioning the upside to airbags is massive, but there is a bit of a trade-off in your ride quality. And here's the next thing I want to talk about. Just listen for a second. I don't know how much is going to come through on camera, but silent off-roading is really cool. I can hear the water hitting up underneath the vehicle. I can really hear the tires squishing through the mud. As my tires were spinning earlier in the ditch, I could really hear which tire was doing what, which one was throwing mud. It's just a whole different experience. Suddenly I can hear all these things I never heard before coming off-road, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love my V8s too, but I love this just as much. It's such a different sort of feeling, and it kind of makes it a little more immersive, you know? It doesn't have the roar of the engine, but it also just means that I have more of my senses in tune with what the vehicle's doing. So it's something that, you know, as we do it more, we're gonna get more used to it. But yes, I'm a fan so far of the whole silent, all-electric off-roading. Man, so we're moving on now. Just right there as I'm coming into these ruts, the lateral stability of these tires is quite poor in this mud. I'm just sliding side to side wherever the hill or the mud wants to take me. Now I will say, now that I'm down in the water, I've noticed the tread is clearing out a little bit of some of that mud, but before this, the tire treads were really just packing up. So it was feeling really slick. So definitely biggest complaint so far is tires. Because I will also then say in the next breath that the clearance still feels epic, honestly. Oh, bit of spin there. But you know, I do this trail all the time, and usually I would have rubbed my belly a couple times by now. There was one belly rub right there. And that was it. I swear that's like the first one I've really felt the whole way up. In most trucks, I would have been dragging something by now. So yes, clearance feels epic. And now we're here in the deep hole. So let's see if we can put that 1 meter of water fording to the test. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive in. Now after the ruts and the ditch crossing, I wasn't feeling too confident. But now it's come up the Hydroline pretty well. I'm feeling pretty good. Oh, and it is deep. A meter deep? I don't know, but it's deep. I'm also not stopping to find out. Oh, there's a big hole there I don't remember. Always something new when you run a trail for the first time in the year. Nice. Now up the hill, up the rocks. Beautifully executed, Rivian. Beautiful. The thing I haven't really talked too much about so far is the power. I mean, it's right there. You barely have to put your foot into it at all. But then, of course, it's also full-time one-pedal drive. So you simply lift off a little bit. You get that brake force. I mean, yeah, it's just so different, again, from what I'm used to in a gas vehicle, and it felt so good coming through there. And once again, hearing the water splash up on the doors and the under panel was super cool. Watch your feet! did it, everybody. Like I said, I was a little bit nervous when we first took off, but once we started going through that water and mud, it felt pretty dang good. And one of the weirdest sensations we had today was, again, listening to this thing, because it sounds like a boat. It sounds like the hull of a boat smacking through the water. The other thing I noticed was the bow wave I was pushing was way bigger than normal because, again, it's one big, sealed up bottom, and that's just pushing the water along. So definitely made for a very different kind of water crossing experience. But overall, I think I can sum this thing up pretty quickly, which is to say the out of the box tires are not great. I think Pirelli should probably remain on the racetrack and not try to do too much off-road stuff. But outside of that, if you were to get one of these things, quickly switch out the rubber for something more aggressive, and you got yourself a dang good off-roader because the clearance was epic. I didn't touch almost a thing on that trail, and I don't say that very often in most of the trucks we run up here. Power felt really good. The fact that it's one pedal drive, again, sort of replicating that 2-foot driving, just means you're always in control. It's a bit of a weird feeling to have to use the accelerator to go downhill, but you quickly kind of retrain your brain, and once you get used to it, it's no big deal. So yeah, man, as an adventure rig, it's pretty dang impressive, I've got to say. And there's one other thing which might add a little bit more context, let's say, which is that now that I'm back in here, this is still a gorgeous luxury interior. This is a $160,000 luxury SUV inside, and it feels like it. So the fact that I can go out there in that nasty swamp, drive this thing through, but then inside still have, such a nice vehicle. It's a weird juxtaposition, but it's also pretty incredible. This is one of those vehicles where, if you got the money, you pretty much can have it all. Now, the very last thing I should mention is the camera system here. We have a front camera, we have a rear camera, you get that top-down view. These are 4K cameras, and right away you notice the quality of them is super clean. I will say, though, it's not the most comprehensive suite of camera views compared to the Toyota Tacoma or, even the Chevy Colorado. Those trucks just have more views. You can see around them more, you can see underneath them. The Rivian doesn't have those tricks. It just has sort of the basic camera views. But I do like that the camera does use the entire screen, and the image it's giving us is super crisp. There's another set of features here I have to show you. It's right here, the camping features, because yes, Rivian does do a lot of things specifically with camping in mind. So first of all, up here, we have spotlights on our side mirrors, so you can turn those on and off, and that's gonna light up outside. I love that over here on the actual animation, the light comes on and off too. That's pretty cool. So then the next mode is Camp Courtesy. This will allow you to move the vehicle without lighting up and making a bunch of sounds. So if you're moving around a campground, say at night, you can do it in total silence and not wake other people up. That is pretty cool. This is your plug, so you can turn it on auto with the outlet, or you can make that outlet set on a timer, and that is nice to have as well. Displays off exactly like it says. You might want to conserve some energy, so you can shut the displays off. Level the SUV. This is going to use the air suspension to make it dead level. That is for when you're sleeping. If you're sleeping inside the Rivian, or if you have a rooftop tent up there on the roof, you want it to be nice and level. So that's cool. And then finally, manage energy. This essentially is going to allow you to tell the Rivian how much you want to use. So you can tell it to stay on. So if I walk away with the key in my pocket, everything will stay on. And you want that for camping quite often. Or stay off. And that means everything will shut off. So that is absolutely conserving every bit of battery, including the proximity cameras, the gear guard as Rivian calls it, because this Rivian does have cameras that will record you when you walk close to it. So even that will shut off to make sure you're conserving your energy. So neat to see the camping screen. And then there's two other physical features I have to show you. So first one is down here, and that's this guy right here. They actually have this Bluetooth camping speaker. Now this is an accessory, it doesn't come standard, and it docks down below my center console here. But yeah, this is a big, hefty speaker. It's quite loud too. So if you're at the campsite, you can take your tunes with you, and then when you're done with it, you simply take it, and it slides, and it docks in there. So it's now charging, and you can even lock it in there too, which is cool. And then for the other feature, I gotta hop out to show you. Right here in the edge of my driver's side door, there's a flashlight. And once again, that thing docks in the door, so that means it's always going to be charged, and it's 1,000 lumens, so that's a pretty legitimate amount of light. So nice to have the little flashlight, and when you're done with it, just tuck it back in there, and what a little slick little spot for it. So yeah, nice to see all the nods to camping that the R1S has. Well folks, we have arrived at the end of this video, and I have to tell you, after spending a day in the mud with the R1S, I feel pretty good about it. Yes, I'd probably swap out the tires, and I didn't love how the traction control reacted in every situation, but for the most part, this SUV went everywhere I wanted it to go. And what's maybe more impressive is once you get back on road, this is an incredibly quick, luxurious, comfortable vehicle. So no, it's not gonna come cheap, but if you can afford it, I do not think you'll be disappointed. So yeah guys, that's it for this one. Now of course I want to hear what you think of the Rivian R1S and all the off-roading you saw in this video. If you want to see us tow with this SUV, we also hooked a trailer behind it, but that's in a different video that's here on the channel. So make sure you go check that one out. And then don't forget to leave me that comment, hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member, and then come right back here to Truck King to see what we're testing next. See ya.